Well. Looks like I'm upgrading co-host today.
I think you might be.
I think I am.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That is the one and only Dr. Producer Suzanne Bagnara. I am Glenn Hausman. You're watching No Vacancy Live. Suzanne, so great to see you.
I'm thrilled to be here today. Thanks for having me.
So I'm only in Vegas a couple of days, so I've still got it together a little bit, but I really want to encourage everyone to watch all our shows this week as I continue to descend in looks and feelings throughout the entire week. So that should be exciting for us.
It is. I'm kind of jealous that you're out on the other coast, but I'm glad you're having fun.
It's always a good time here in Las Vegas. Although last night, it was great because yesterday afternoon I caught up some friends I haven't seen since pre-COVID, and that was just the best. And I'm doing a lot of that while I'm here on this trip. So many great people in our business that I haven't been able to connect with. So it's so much fun to really bring it all together and see what's going on here in town. So I'm here right now, coming live at the from the Sky Loft here at MGM Grand. I've got this absolutely incredible 2-level suite over here.
I didn't know it was 2 levels.
Oh my goodness!
You failed to describe that part of the process with those pictures. So that's cool.
I know. So here's the room, and then more room, and then the stairs are right over there, and it goes up, and right above here is the bedroom. Yeah, it's really
Although
it's
I guess
really
with the word loft, there you go.
Yeah. So I'll tell you about I'll tell you, this whole experience has been kind of crazy. And, I'm not a high roller or anything like that. I get by in life by knowing the right people if I'm lucky. So I had a very generous friend who put me up here. We're going to have lunch after the show today to talk about what my experiences are here and to talk about the next generation of what's going to be happening here at MGM Grand. So many great things. I have another friend in town that's coming in because there's a major renovation that's going to be going on in the West Wing towers over here. And her product is going to be going in there. So that's pretty exciting to see. Again, the constant redevelopment of this city. But right now, I'm feeling super special. I got picked up in a fancy pants car. Rolls Royce. Can you imagine? They let me in one of those things. And
really? My goodness.
Seriously, Suzanne, I felt like I was like a total high roller, and it was great to feel VIP, I will tell you.
That's pretty exciting. Sometimes we don't get those opportunities. We just kind of skirt by on our teeth. So to be treated that way, that's pretty cool. I'm excited for you.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to jump into our show in just 1 second, but I did want to let you know, I don't know what's going on with LinkedIn. We're still having trouble getting those particular comments. So if you're on my feed, those typically come through. If you're watching on Anthony's feed, Suzanne, you might not know this, but the way I have this whole system set up, those never come through. Sure. So if you want to comment on the YouTube page, comment on Anthony's Fans Facebook page, comment on my LinkedIn page. I know it's kind of confusing because we go out to so many different sources, but all you people out there insist on watching it in different places, and it's driving me a little bit crazy, but we want you to be able to watch this great show where we are, wherever you are. All right. Should we jump right into this?
Let's go for it. We've got to sprint into it.
Yeah. Oh, that is a great way of saying things. All right. So listen, I'm a huge freak for Olympics, and I love watching all of those different competitions. I don't really like watching typical traditional American sports. I love baseball for, going and having beers and hot dogs and that sort of thing. Football, I think, moves a little too slow. Hockey's great, but only in person. I don't get into all of that stuff, but I can't get enough of Olympics. And our guest today started out as a track and field professional, wound up in the 2000 Sydney Olympics, and then went into a different direction after she retired from that, going into being an executive chef. So I'm really excited today to welcome to our show Dawn Burrell, an Olympian on the track and field and in the kitchen. Finalist on Top Chef too. Boy, thanks for bringing your coolness to our show, because finally someone who's accomplished is on No Vacancy Live.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you for having me. It's going to be a really great time.
Yeah, this is great.
So was good, but I'm actually a jumper, so yeah.
All right, jump into it.
All right. So here's my bad jokes. It's good for the hospitality industry because you have to jump through a lot of hoops all the time. Yeah. Sorry. Now that Anthony's not. I know, not right exactly now that Anthony's not making sound
You're
effects.
right about that.
Yeah, he does not like my sound effects. Shh. But anyway, so Dawn, I got to tell you, like I was saying, I love watching the Olympics, and as someone who was in the Olympics herself, it's really cool, I'm sure, for you to watch younger athletes now compete, take the next generation. But the observation I made at this particular Olympics was every time I turned it on, I seemed to be exposed to amazing women athletes, but in a way that felt normal and organic and not forced. And I just was feeling really good about that. And I think a lot's probably changed since you competed in the summer of 2000, right?
I mean, it surely has. I mean, with the assistance of social media, these female athletes have connection to their fan base that unlike ever before, and so that is empowering. And so I think that you see a lot of that fuel for these personalities that are coming out on the field to be fueled by that connection with their fan base. So it's really awesome and it's great to watch.
Yeah, sure. So how did you get involved in jumping and track and field?
Well, my brother blazed a trail. My brother, Leroy Burrell, is a two-time Olympian and two-time world record holder in the 100-meter dash. And and so it was only natural that I follow his footsteps all the way here.
Because he would probably like punch you as a kid, and then you had to go chase him, right?
He did punch me. He punched me. He loved to punch me in my legs, and I didn't understand. Like, why are you doing this? He's a little bit older than me, and he always so bossy and always wanted to tell me what to do. And then I had to chase him, or I just cry.
So what made you want to go and pursue that? Because that is really, really difficult thing to set your eyes on a goal, like literally 10, 15 years before you attain that goal. The reason why I ask this question is because we really all do the same thing in all aspects of our life. But when you are an Olympian and of that caliber, people want to hear those types of stories. So tell us a little bit about your story so we could relate it to our own experiences, which are nowhere near as cool.
So I mean, my story is pretty unique because I had an example to follow, right? In my brother.
Right.
So he came to University of Houston. I watched him over and over again be number one in the nation and to just dominate his individual events. And so I had that to watch, and it let me know, that those goals, those lofty goals, and being an Olympian and being number one in the world numerous times in your career is obtainable.
Right.
And so there all of those things were I watched him do, and they were super incredible, and I was in awe, and I wanted that very same thing for myself. And I knew genetically I had the same makeup, and so it was just about working hard enough and being diligent enough to obtain the same goals as he had.
It probably almost gave you a little bit more sense of confidence, maybe than some of the traditional athletes if they didn't have that blazing path to follow. So that's got to be pretty inspiring then.
It most certainly was. I mean, of course, athletes that make it, they do have a great support system and someone who's always by their side telling them that they can do it, because that's essentially what coaching is, right? So you tell and you give them some tools to help them reach their goal, but they first have to want the goal themselves. And if they want the goal, and they have the right coaching, then like the sky's the limit. And also, of course, like the genetic makeup to allow you to be able to do it in the first place. But that was definitely helpful for me to have somebody there in my life that's my brother closest in age to follow.
That's cool. I had the genetic makeup to go to all you can eat buffets. That's about all I could handle.
Too.
So what interests me is you build up your whole life to get to that experience, and then you compete in the Olympics. So my first question is, what was that experience like to you? And then what was it like afterwards? Because you worked your whole life to get somewhere, and then it's over. It's so bizarre.
Well, the perception is that we're part of my life, but first I need to figure out what I was doing, right? So I think that I like post-collegiately is when I actually started working toward this goal. And so it was about 8 years in the making, I think. And so what was wonderful was that once I did it, I felt this huge sense of accomplishment, but also this incredible, like, terrifying wash came over me, because it's like, oh, the stage is so much bigger, the exposure is so much greater,
Right.
and I've never been there before. So let me see what I can do here, and let me try really hard to do the best that I possibly can.
So
And
how'd you get past that fear, that self-doubt, the worry?
You just push through it, basically. Like, I don't know that I doubted myself. I wanted so badly to perform.
Right.
And so that the pressure that I put on myself was really, really great. But I didn't doubt that I could do it. I was just, it's always, it's your preparation times your, I guess you would be like your physical and mental preparation,
Mhm.
along with the perfect timing, that will help you achieve your athletic goals, especially in track and field. And so I was just hoping that everything would come together during that season.
Did you feel that it came together for you personally? Because I really feel in the end, yeah, you're competing against other people, but you're competing against yourself fundamentally.
Yes, that's it. Absolutely it. Track and field is just that. You just need to make sure that you are mentally and physically prepared, and that you are doing enough positive self-talk to quiet everything else around you. So it's really you against yourself, and that's pretty much how I operate on a daily basis now. But I can say that it did not come together for me at the Olympic Games.
Right.
But as as an athlete, I've always been able to kind of dust the negative experience off and go and perform again, because you're only as good as your last race or your last
That's
jump.
right.
And if it wasn't that great, then you need to do it again so that you can end the season on a positive note. And so, for example, at the Olympic Games, I placed 11th, and I went to the the Grand Prix final right after that, a week and a half after that, and I won. I beat
Wow.
everyone that I competed against just a week and a half
That's
prior.
amazing, but you're like, oh, why not 2 weeks ago?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And I jumped further than the winning jump at the Olympic Games.
Oh my goodness, Dawn.
Yeah.
So, real mixed feelings there. So you win, which is amazing, but it also must feel really incredible to tell yourself that, yes, I can do it. Right?
If there was any doubt at all that I could, I proved it to myself that that competition. So yeah.
Right. Suzanne, you got a question?
No, so I would then start to really love to hear how you then start to make your next life set of goals and what you want to do. How do you take that transitional experience to the next?
So let me give you a little direction on that. You're home, you're done with these competitions. You're like, it's time to retire. What goes through your mind? How do you figure out what is next? Because I think all of us come to some nexus in our lives where we have to make a big decision. This chapter's over. What is that next thing going to be? So what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. So let me tell you, I'll give you a little background on this story. So I won Grand Prix final in 2000. I won indoor world championships in 2001. And then right after that, I tore my ACL. So I spent 7 years trying to work back to the same competitive form, only to get just barely, just so close to it. And then I'd suffer an injury that would put me out for the rest of the season. So it happened over and over and over again. So I gave myself a hard deadline, and my hard deadline was 2008. If I hadn't made the Olympic team, then I was not going to compete anymore. And it was hard. It was a rough decision to make, but I made it. And when I didn't make it, I stuck with it.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you're an athlete, all athletes have to retire at some point, right?
Yeah.
And they're young, and you really have your whole life ahead of you at that particular point, right? So
exactly.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I got nothing, Suzanne.
Yeah, it's like you have your whole life ahead of you, but at the same time, you were so immersed in your athleticism that in your athletics, that was your life.
Right.
Yeah, you almost have to kind of start from a different ground zero now to kind of build up what that is as you close that one chapter and move into the next.
You're exactly right, and so I did that. a lot of things were going on in my life that were undesirable. My father was very ill. I was going through a divorce.
Right.
All these bad things were happening, and then my career died athletically. So I was like, okay, I need something to grasp onto. It's almost like a survival. It was like a survival. What do you call it when you're just trying to survive? You're grasping for survival.
Yeah, totally. I can imagine that. That's a very deep struggle when you feel all of a sudden that you don't have direction, and all of the things that you thought were solid in your life are no longer such. So not only are you grappling with the emotions of, oh my gosh, I can't compete in this way anymore, I have to find something else to do, but then all of a sudden you find out that maybe you're going to be more alone on your journey than you expected. That's really difficult to deal with, I would think.
You're so good at explaining things. That's exactly it.
That's why we keep
I'll tell you, now that we've been named the #1 podcast in hospitality, I'm worried. I feel like I should quit now while we're at top. Like you may have been thinking about after that world champion.
Right. Well, I was still young, so I don't know. But so it was it was a tough time period. I had to search really deeply to figure out what I loved outside of athletics. And I love food, I love clothing, I love interior design, and I was like, I'm going to do something creative, and I settled on the Art Institute and pursuing an education in some sort of art field. So then it was based on, okay, what class starts first? Because it is urgent that I get dive headfirst into whatever's next, and the culinary class started first. It started like on July 30th or something like that, and everything else started in October. I was like, well, I'm going to culinary school because that timing is perfect.
And that turned out to be a pretty good deal for you. You really, I think you really discovered who you were going to be in this next chapter of your life. And, I'll tell everybody, Chef Dawn got her first James Beard nomination for Best Chef in Texas in 2020, which is pretty freaking awesome that you were able to achieve that, and you had executive chef position. So what was that part like then? Competing, I'm sure, against yourself as fiercely as you trained to become an Olympic competitor.
Gosh, I hate that I'm telling this story because I just told a sad story, but I'm going to tell another one.
That's all right. That's all right. We actually get more viewers for sad stories.
Okay.
They did just spike, right?
What we could cry? Let's watch.
Well, I'm happy to offer that, but
don't worry, we'll find some laughs in there. Don't
yeah. True. I'm gonna be my true transparent self. So, the morning that I discovered that I was nominated for a James Beard Award, it was a time that it was right after my mother had a stroke, and I've been staying at the hospital with her for 3.5 weeks, and I lived there basically, and I didn't know what I was going to do because I didn't really know if I wanted to work anymore, because I wanted her to have everything she needed. And she lost her ability to walk by herself and speak clearly, like in an instant, like it was gone.
Right.
And so like I wanted to be there to help her with that struggle. And it meant that everything in my life was in question, including my current career that I chose. And and I was just, kind of sitting at the bar at the restaurant, like, and then all of a sudden these texts started streaming in, like, oh, Dawn, congratulations. I was like, congratulations for what?
Right.
And then they circled the nomination, and like, how people do all the emojis and stuff like that. And I was like, and it was just like, I just started bawling, because I was just that close to giving all of the hard work away, to help my mom. And I knew she wouldn't want it, and I told her about it, and she was so happy. She was like, yes, I'm so excited. And she was like, but wait, what is a James Beard Award? Well, whatever it is, I'm so happy because I know about awards, like my children get them, And so she's like, well, that's fantastic. I can't believe it. And then, and so we went home and we just kind of figured it out, I stayed when I could. We teamed up as a family to help with her needs, and I continued working. and it all worked out.
That's
Well,
great.
that's awesome,
Suzanne?
because I too, unfortunately, my husband just had a stroke in October, so
Oh.
I know the deep, immense control of helping and needing to be there, and really putting everything into perspective. It's a tremendous amount. So
Yeah, it is. But you want nothing more for your loved one than to not suffer any more than they already have, and so I had to find my balance between being there for my mother and the career that is turning out to be pretty successful. So
Yeah, that's pretty freaking awesome how your career is going right
thank
now.
you.
It must feel really good after all that you've been through, the ups, the downs, to, be figuring it all out, and to now be a partner executive chef with Lucille's Hospitality Group, opening up a restaurant called Late August. That will be
Yes.
coming this spring. But before we get to talking about all of that, I got to talk to you about making it to the finals of Top Chef. What was that experience like for you? But let's start with, where did you even get the crazy idea that you could be a competitor on a TV show like that? And how did you bring that crazy dream to reality?
Well, once a competitor, always competitor, right?
Right.
I figured I needed to find an arena to showcase my skill, and I set my eyes on Top Chef like, I don't know, 6 years prior, when I wasn't even ready, just to
Right.
make sure that I was aware of what the interview processes were, and what they to familiarize myself more of what they were looking for, so that when my time came, I would be ready, and it would be almost effortless, to get on the show. And it flowed so smoothly through the interview process, and I was just so proud that they'd finally like accepted me, because I'd applied before,
Right.
as I just told you, and and so to get there was exciting, and to go through all of these competitions they were literally the hardest thing I've ever done in
Really?
my life.
What made them so hard? Sorry.
that's okay.
So as an athlete, you are building toward a goal that is constant, and consistent. So you know what to do to get it. You know how to organize your training to get exactly to the point where you need to get, which is to be ready for that pinnacle performance, right?
Right.
And Top Chef, you don't know what to do to prepare. You don't know what is coming at you or flying at you in these competitions. And all you can do is just maintain your physical fitness and your mental focus and your mental preparedness to get through each competition. So that's how they're different. And that's what makes Top Chef harder.
Yeah, interesting.
And I think that's pretty cool that you looked at and went back to the deep roots of your athletic training, because I don't know how many chefs really would have had the forethought to look at 6-7 years down the road and continue to build to be prepared for that particular type of experience. So I know we're hosting a Top Chef competition tonight, but it's nothing like what you've done.
I'm participating in a top eating competition all week long, checking out a lot of these.
You might be the winner tonight, Glenn.
Yes, I'm going to be having dinner with a buddy over at the Silverton Casino Resort, where he just recently took a job as running PR over there. I'm excited to go check out a locals casino, because the environment is so different than the strip casinos where I am right now, because it's a different type of audience. It's a different type of consumer need. So it's a lot of fun for me to go check that out. But back to you and back to food. What, I know you trained, with Chef Tom Akins in London. You worked in Houston, that sort of thing. But then you were an executive chef doing modern Southern food at Culture. So is that kind of the type of food that you're looking to do in the future? And tell us a little bit about what type of food interests you when it comes to Late August.
Sure. So Late August is going to be like a love letter to global comfort cuisine, with very, very specific details gearing toward Afro-Asian fusion, because there's some overlap in the two cuisines with certain styles of cooking,
Mhm,
certain techniques of sauce making, and
mhm.
I am looking to highlight those, not in oh, this is a cultural study way, but just more in an enlightening way, for you're going to come to late August and you're going to be enlightened and you're going to be inspired, and that's my goal.
Nice. Suzanne?
It sounds great. Now, when is the restaurant slated to open?
In one of the J months, we're saying. Yeah, so so June or July.
Right.
We
Hopefully
try to.
not January of next year.
I know, definitely not the first J month, but
Yeah.
either June, July. That's what we're gearing towards. We have a 16-week timeline starting from last week,
Yep.
and we're on our way.
So what's that
Pressure's on.
process like then? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I got to know I want to know how the whole process is like, but I'd also like you to tell us a little bit about what it's like figuring out what the dishes are going to be that you're going to
Yeah.
feature when J months come along.
Yeah, so these are it's been really fun, and it's not my first menu that I've written for the restaurant, but it is the first that is truly reflective of my cooking style.
Mhm.
Of course, culture was that for me. My family's from the South. That's my heritage. I learned to cook for my grandmother, my aunts. So that is me. But I wanted to tell the full story of who I am. I worked in Asian restaurants, Uchi specifically, where
Yep.
there were a lot of Asian cultures represented there, and they became a part of me. My
Right.
coach was Chinese, Mandarin,
Cool.
and he also owned a restaurant when they first moved to Houston. So they know food, he and his wife. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot of cooking technique from them as well. And
Yep.
it's like my second father, So yeah, I mean, it's part of me, and this is going to be a full expression of who I am culinarily speaking. And I'm really excited about it.
I'm starting to
Um,
get hungry.
yeah, it's going to be it's going to be an amazing partnership.
I love the idea of combining the flavors that you're talking about. Southern
Mhm.
cuisine, which of course has its roots in Africa, and
Yes.
and then you're talking about bringing in Asian food as
Yes.
well, and bringing a little hodgepodge of the best of those together. That's
Mhm.
sounds to me to be a winning combination. Can you give us an example of one dish where you feel like all of these flavors are coming together in a really successful way for you?
Sure. So there's a dish I made on Top Chef, the scallop dish, in the Restaurant Wars
Mhm.
segment, and I made a seared scallop with a ham hock dashi,
Interesting.
and
Yeah,
and
Takashi, cool.
yes, and a Creole XO,
Yeah,
which kind of had it was a cross between XO and Shito. Shito's an African chili paste that's
yep.
made with crawfish and fish at the base. And
Interesting.
I just used more southern ingredients, like ham and tasso to make that.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah.
That's really neat, right there.
Glenn's our in-house chef, if you will. None of us really cook or smoke or barbecue
Yeah,
anything like he does.
yeah. I really,
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of cooking. Now, obviously, I'm not of the caliber to actually work in a restaurant. But as far as home cooks go, I'm pretty good at following directions, and
Love it. Yeah.
I'm getting to the point now where I could start to experiment a little bit. But I don't
Cool.
have that. I don't have that creativity when it comes to my cooking to be able to even conceive of a dish like you're talking about right there, let alone execute it. I'm still like blown away by things like, oh, you do things with the onions and you add the spices and you let that hang out for a little while, and then you put it into something else and you do this, that, and the other thing. So I think that's really, really cool. Todd hasn't revealed too much about the food, and I'm starving. How could you not cheer for her success? Mike, I'm cheering for all of us to go down there and have a good meal one day.
Yeah.
So how important is your heritage and your Southern American roots and African roots to you in cooking? Because one of the things that I find is we don't talk enough about where a lot of these dishes came from,
Right.
and how like a lot of influence was taking from when your ancestors were torn out of Africa and maybe put in the Caribbean for a little while, and then some stuff came in with like French and stuff, and then brought over here. It all kind of came together. Now, I watched the most amazing documentary on Netflix called High on the Hog, how African-American cuisine transformed American food. I don't know if you've seen that, but I thought it was incredibly educational and eye-opening, and really reminded me that all of the foods that I love, like okra, isn't even American; it's from Africa.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Glenn, I don't know if you realize, but my business partner Chris Williams was featured in High on the Hog.
Holy F. I did not put two and two together, because honestly, if you guys are not watching that documentary as soon as we go off air today, you're missing out. It is incredible and one of the best food shows I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I think it's excellent. And I was also so proud of being featured on that. But yeah, he went into a lot of food history when it comes to Southern cuisine.
That's what I loved about it, because
Yeah.
it was about the history of the food with real conversations about the reality of where all of these things came together.
Yes, indeed. And so my approach to food now is researching ingredients and discovering their origin, and really trying to utilize them in every way possible, because they're it's truly the food of our ancestors. What once considered American food and Southern American is truly West African cuisine.
Right.
And so to follow that the journey of the ingredients here is very important to tell the whole story, and so I'm taking it very seriously, and it is very important to me. And from the time period where the enslaved people hid grains of rice in their hair so that they can have something to eat when they got here, to the time where we were eating nothing but scraps that were given to us from our slave masters, and making like really great dishes out of them.
Just so we could further explain that, because I really think it's essential for people to know the reality of what things have happened. So that's kind of like the genesis of where modern American barbecue and smoking meats come from, because you're taking a scrap that was unpalatable to the slave masters and stuff like that, and turning it into something that makes all Americans go, wow. Right?
Yes, indeed. And so we learned to do that as because that's what was given to us, and it turned out to be the thing now, the things now that people crave, and a way of life in Southern cuisine. And I think it's truly amazing. Like, I think our ancestors were amazing, and I just want to tell these stories.
Yeah, and they need to be told, because your ancestors had to deal with ridiculous things that I can't even comprehend how horrific it must have been. Mike, that documentary again is called High on the Hog on Netflix, so be sure to check that out. So one of the other things that I find fascinating with you is you're not just opening up a restaurant, but with Lucille's Hospitality Group, you're going to also be focusing on their nonprofit, Lucille's 1913, which serves as a vehicle to help create an integrated ecosystem, combating food insecurity and waste, and creating training and employment opportunities in under-resourced neighborhoods, empowering communities, and all of that. And I think the way I want to enter this part of the conversation is how insane it is that a lot of African-American communities live in food deserts. And for those of you who don't know, a lot of these communities don't have access to great fruits and vegetables and proteins and all of these kinds of things, which I think has led to deleterious effects within those communities, where you eat all of this fast food and then get diabetes or unhealthy, right?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, food insecurity is no security at all. Like, if you can, there's no food, there are no jobs, and so therefore there's nothing to feel secure about within these communities. And so that's why they're left to sort of fend for themselves in an impoverished way. And what's lost is the education of food and what real food is. And it happens because they're so far removed from what their ancestors did, like tilling their own land, growing their own food, raising their own animals. Right. And so what we're looking to do in the nonprofit is to especially in this farming community, Kendleton, which is about 25 miles from where our nonprofit kitchen is to farm this land and bring the farming community back to life, because they have lost that skill.
Right.
Because their ancestors did it, but because the farming system changed in between the 70s and the 80s, there's a generational gap, not knowing how to do that and trade again. So we're looking to teach them how to farm land, employ about 50 to 60% of the community with a living wage, and we'll be injecting real food back into their communities, which I think will be really awesome. Attached to the effort will be mercantiles and stores that those that don't work in the community gardens or in the garden that we're planting, they will be able to purchase real foods. And so I think it's going to be a great effort. And this is a reason why I connected with Chris on a professional level, because when he pitched this job to me, I decided to be his business partner after I came back from Top Chef. But I didn't want to make a hasty decision, so I really thought about it for a long time. And he's like, "You're going to do it, and let me tell you why." Like, I know that you love to do for people, and there's going to be a philanthropic effort attached to every restaurant that we have. Our nonprofit is going to make changes and differences in the world. We're going to change the world. We're going to change the game. And I was like, yeah, we are.
That's weird. Now, will you see any of the food from those farms coming into your restaurant?
Ooh.
So when we start to farm the land, and we're about, I guess you can say about a year out from doing that. We have the land right now, but we're creating the infrastructure to make it happen. But there will be 3 acres of land dedicated to late August, and then there's going to be a farm outside of where we're working at the nonprofit that's going to be for the nonprofit and also for the kids that are at the school that's attached to where the nonprofit kitchen is.
Oh, that's great. One of my business partners, the restaurant that she was an HR manager of, they had a farm and they were trying to do the same thing up in Massachusetts. And I happened to be there on a day when a plethora of cucumbers, like so many cucumbers kept coming in because they had so much more than they had thought. And the chef's like, I am getting creative with making lots of different pickled things. So it should be interesting. Sometimes you have an abundance of maybe what you're not anticipating, and you have to get creative with your menu.
And you know what we did is that we established a fermentation lab for this reason. So we also have a division of 1913 for ferments, and so the plan was to have a place to put these overages and to preserve these overages so that we can either give them back to the community or utilize them in our restaurants. So we already have that system in place.
That's awesome. That'll be well thought out to be able to be successful. That's great.
Yeah.
So looking ahead, Lord Daniel says, what is Dawn's vision of the future moving forward in 2022? Ultimately, what do you want to? What's your vision for the future?
Oh, my vision is, just to continue to do the good work that we're doing for people. Of course, I also will be working closely with Chris to become, a restaurateur with multiple outposts and multiple concepts. Working toward that as well. My first personal one is late August, and but we are simultaneously working on 3, and I think it's going to be a really impactful Black-owned restaurant group that will truly change how the outlook of this industry, and while we're simultaneously working on changing the world through food insecurity or alleviating that. So yeah.
Beautiful. Suzanne?
Pretty inspiring. I'm just excited to see that you've had so many transferable skill transitions in your life that continues to propel you to that next level.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So Dawn, My heritage is European Jewish, right? So I'm thinking that we should kind of combine old school Jewish food with classic Southern American African focused food. I think that would be a neat combination because we already got brisket. It's just
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, so it's like we're dancing around each other, but it might be cool to do some sort of Southern matzo ball.
For sure. Like I mean, I'm not unfamiliar. I had a Jewish boyfriend, and so who kept kosher. So I get it. Like
No, I don't keep it kosher. I like food too much. I want some of those. Awesome. Any final words?
No, just thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been really fun, and I love that I got the chance to tell you my stories, and just stay tuned because we are making it happen.
Awesome. How do we learn more? Give us a good shameless plug on how we could find you guys.
Oh, yes. So you can find us. You can follow Lucille's Hospitality Group for all things going on under this umbrella. Lucille's 1913. We are making changes in communities. You can find us there on Instagram, Lucille's 1913, and Chef Dawn Burrell. You can find me on Instagram.
Beautiful. Chef Dawn Burrell, thank you so much for being here. You are an inspiration. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is run right out and get some good food. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Dawn. Suzanne, thanks for bringing her to our attention. That was really awesome.
Yeah, totally. Instagram, it's an amazing thing. And so coming off of the Olympics, I thought, what better way than to try and look at how you pair those two. There's even different unique studies that are out there from locations of where Olympics are, and then what is the impact on those environments and communities when those events are done. That's a whole separate thing. But I wanted to have some fun with food today.
I love having fun with food. And you know what else I love having fun with? People downloading the audio version of our podcast. That's right. Get the audio version of No Vacancy Live on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and honestly, wherever you get your shows, we are there. Now, if you want to reach out to us, Anthony is at Anthony Hotels. I am at Traveling Glenn, and that's Dr. Producer Suzanne. Any final words?
I am happy to pitch in for today. Thanks for having me, and I look forward to being in the background tomorrow. Oh, actually, no, I won't be there tomorrow. Yeah, you are all on your own tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. So tune in for that cluster F as I welcome Rob Smith, EVP of Operations with Aimbridge Hospitality, the world's largest management company, coming on over here. So I'll be going toe-to-toe, one-on-one with him because Suzanne and Anthony are abandoning me. That's right. Feel bad for me. Get out the tiny little violins. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. And remember, you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.
Beautiful. And don't forget, don't talk over
Anthony.